Kearney Bulldogs. You're listening to 102.7 KPGZ, Kearney's community radio station.
He looks to throw, looking deep downfield. He's got a receiver open. It is complete. That is Stevens for a touchdown.
The Bulldog Radio Network proudly presents the Coach Gray Show on 102.7 FM, Kearney's hometown radio station. And now, here are the hosts of the show, Mike Davis, Jim Dickerson, and Coach Josh Gray.
And welcome to the Coach Gray Show. Oh, nice timing there, Brian. We are on with you, 102.7 FM. You are listening to the Coach Gray Show. I'm your host, Mike Davis, along with my co-host, Jim Dickerson, and producer-engineer, Brian Watts, who is punching buttons like in a wild frenzy, which is pretty amazing to watch. And we also have the ball coach in here with us. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. Jim, I saw a game. You and I called a game with the Falcons and the Bulldogs last week. Ended up 52-19. Pretty clear to me, and we talked about it in our Liberty Hospital post-game show. The score does not at all indicate how well this team played.
No, it doesn't. One of the things when we were first watching the game that we talked about was when we were in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and even well into the third quarter, how tight the game was and how well the Bulldogs were playing. And then, the fourth quarter kind of got away from us a little bit. But, when we were at the Jamboree a couple of weeks ago, the improvement, in my opinion, and we'll talk to the coach obviously about it because he's sitting right here, but the improvement between and the timing and how everything's come together since the Jamboree and now, which has only been like 3 weeks, has been phenomenal, I think.
No doubt about that.
And so, of course, we came out of the game right out of the gate, and, Stevens with that great touchdown run, and then he did it again, which was even greater. Mm-hmm. But we saw a lot of good plays, and we'll talk about them all. But, yeah, that you see that score, not indicative, in my opinion, of how the Bulldogs played the entire night.
Not at all. And Coach Gray, we're going to let you talk here. I absolutely saw a really smart football team on the part of the Kearney Bulldogs. I saw a very competitive, very big, fast team. Look, Staley Falcons are who they are, and a good team. But here's the thing I would like to know, and we mentioned this. There were some things that I think the kids learned, that the Kearney Bulldogs learned from this game. Talk to us how you take a loss like this and move forward with it constructively.
I felt kind of like you all. Mm-hmm. We started pretty well, and we knew, going into the game, we talked to them about making sure that, we knew it was going to be 4 quarters. We fight through adversity, kind of stay calm and cool through the whole game. If don't get too high with the highs or low with the lows, and we knew it was going to be, when you're playing a team like that you're going to have to be dialed in. And, we did jump out to an early lead. Had a great run by Jacob and did some really nice things, I thought. Going into the second half, tied up.
Right.
Which, we, to be honest, we expected to be up on them. Our expectation and the players' thoughts and going through that was, we're going to win this ball game, and that's it. That's what we know. And
right.
And I felt like we played that way, towards the end of the third and obviously into the fourth quarter where we had we had some breakdowns and we didn't finish like we wanted to.
Right.
I think there's a lot, and that what we talked to them about on Monday to kind of answer your question was, it's not about that game anymore. It's people are going to want, how are you going to react to that loss?
Yeah.
How are you going to react? And how are you going to respond at practice on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and obviously today, how we practice today, and then how we come out on Friday, how that's going to be and what that's going to look like, and how are we going to respond to a loss like that, a hard physical game, and how we're going to be. So, our thought of the week this week, our focus this week was making sure that we grow, and growth was kind of that word that we targeted this week and talked about all week. And making sure that, you're going to grow through adversity and through a loss.
Right.
You hope you respond the right way. And as coaches, we watch the film. What did we do wrong? What do we need to improve on? And what were some of the mistakes that we made? But what were some of the highlights that we had? And really focus on that piece as well as, some of the things that we needed to work on and maybe didn't execute like we definitely wanted to. So that was kind of this week's theme was growth and where are we going and how can we grow from game one where we made mistakes, clean those up. Now how we grow from game two, going forward into this upcoming week in Platte County.
And it's kind of funny. I think you talk about mistakes. Mistakes can be just basic, like I didn't run the right route or I didn't listen or whatever. But you also have mental mistakes. And we talked about a little bit before we got started, one of the mental mistakes, the interception at the 5-yard line or something like that. That's you're pumped up. You have a chance for an interception.
Absolutely.
You lay at home and dream about this moment. But there's times where you don't want to do it. And that was one of them.
Yeah. And, with that, that's awesome. I mean, those are things that you want.
Right.
You want guys after the ball and going and finding it, stripping it, and going up and making an interception and creating a turnover. And that was awesome. Taking nothing away from that because he did an amazing job. That was awesome. And a great confidence builder for him. And,
yes.
And Dawson's done a great job. And so it's us as coaches making sure with young individuals, young players that those things get polished up a little bit and making sure that we know situations. And that's, so those are things that we got to continue to learn from and learn on and make sure those situations are kind of dialed in, if you will. And that we know again what to do in that next scenario. Don't take away from being that physicality and that ball hawk type of mentality and making sure we're back there doing what we need to do. But just knowing a little bit more about, down distance, different things like that. So, those are things that are easy. I mean, hopefully that doesn't take away from the way he plays.
No, not at all. But I think that's one of those things they talk about it. Actually, I think more in baseball than you do in football, but it's key. So like in baseball, if the ball comes to me, where am I going? Because you can't think about it. You can't wait till the ball gets there and go, okay, let's see, there's a guy over there.
Yeah.
And football's the same way, though. You've got to know, okay, if I'm here and I have the chance to intercept it, do I really want to do it? But then that also changes, too. You can't just say, well, if I'm at the 5-yard line, I'm going to knock it down. Because if I'm standing there all by myself, then
he's thinking, I'm going to take this ball upfield.
Right. But in that play, he was actually, if I recall, he was going down when he made the interception. So clearly he's not going to return it.
Right.
But just a mental thing. But I can't blame the guy at all because I'd have done the same thing. I'd have jumped up. I intercepted it.
I think any one of us in the same situation would have likely done.
Well, he wouldn't. The coach would have.
Except for the coach. I think any one of us, though, sees the good in an interception.
Yeah.
And look, we're talking about possession here. Down a distance, yes, important. Possession, more important.
Right. And he's does a great job for us and is a heck of a ball player. So that'll be one obviously that we'll definitely get over.
Yes, and certainly we love seeing what Dawson Minard has been doing over the past 3 games now, or I guess we include the Jamboree. Yeah. And we see him out there, does a terrific job. A great job. Keep doing what you're doing, basically.
Don't give it up now.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to talk a little bit about your quarterback, Ian Acosta. 6 for 14 for 64 yards. Okay. But there was a throw that he made, a 34-yard touchdown to Stevens, which was just a remarkable play. And I think we've got some sound on that one. Let's play the sound on that, Brian, because I think it'll help set this thing up a little bit. And
so that brings up about a 2nd and 8. This time Ian Acosta under center. He looks to pitch, but keeps the ball, looking downfield. He's got an open receiver. Stevens, touchdown! Oh, my goodness. Beautifully thrown ball. Stevens had at least a step and a half on the defender. And, I mean, Ian Acosta just reared back with that ball and let it fly. And it was right on the money. Stevens caught it on stride in the end zone. 6 points, Bulldogs.
That was a 32-yard pass play, Acosta to Stevens, and the Bulldogs take a 13-0 lead
with 7:06 left to go in this first quarter.
Yeah, and of course, you like 13. What was it, 13-0? Wow. I mean, that was terrific. Talk about that play, Coach.
You know, another combination, another strike, if you will.
Right.
You know, Jacob does a great job of getting separation, setting up his routes, which is very key. You know, it's not just going out there and running down the field or whatever you're doing. It's setting those up, and he does a great job running his routes. A great route runner, and was able to get himself in position inside the safety there, and Ian, you know, delivered a strike to him.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about timing last week, about how, you know, these guys
Right.
are getting, and especially, you know, Jacob had another quarterback last year.
Right.
But the receivers and I would imagine even the guys in the backfield are getting together with Ian after practice.
Yeah.
You mentioned it.
Yep.
And they're working on what? Timing.
It's key.
Yeah.
I mean, those you can't, you know, just expect somebody to come out there and, you know, dial up A, knowing how fast they are.
Right.
You know, and what their mechanics are. I mean, there's fine tuning, if you will, of setting those plays up and receiver quarterback play and even the backfield with Laughlin. I mean, just that the mesh point and the, you know, the backfield action and all that. It takes a lot of reps and a lot of time, and that, you know, familiarity of how they step and, you know, all those little things that they make it look easy, and, you know,
Right.
that takes a lot of time, and that, you know, that's one thing that they do a good job of spending that extra time.
Well, and it showed because we saw improvement over the week before, no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, you think about standing in your backyard playing catch. I mean, with a baseball or a football, pick anything, and it's a stationary target. And how many times do you miss that target when you're standing 20 feet away from each
Well,
other?
it depends on who it is, because I can miss it a lot.
Right? Same here. But I think what you're talking about, when your quarterback lets loose with a ball like that and throws it 34, 32 yards, I think they ended up, the stat sheet called it 34. Jim called it 32. Good job, by the way, on your estimation, Jim.
Well, just a guess.
It's what I do.
He glanced down.
Right.
Oh.
But
and then I have to do math,
but
which
exactly.
really hurts, by the way.
But when you see a pass that's thrown to a receiver like that one was, and he's got, as we say, a step and a half or so, he had his defender beat, the receiver, Stevens.
Yeah.
That's not easy. That's a moving target. And when he doesn't have to even break stride, beautifully done by Ian Acosta. And I just hats off to him for showing a lot of poise the other night.
Yeah, he's come a long way, and every game, I think, even, you know, in the jamboree with limited reps that he took, and when we were kind of going through a couple quarterbacks and seeing how things were gonna fit out, and, you know, he's really grown, not only, you know, obviously with his ability, but his confidence level, his ability to see the defense and to, you know, kind of, if you will, evaluate it,
Right.
and dissect it, and the things that he does, and has really come along for a sophomore. Has definitely taken some great strides in his maturity and in his, you know, just awareness overall. I think has done a great job in the first 2 weeks anyhow.
Yeah, I think you talked about in the very beginning when you announced that Ian Acosta was going to be your starting quarterback, that he has a relationship, he has a rapport with the guys on the offense, and that doesn't just happen by accident. That's well, it's leadership.
Yeah,
I mean, and he's, as an underclassman, I think I'm going to compare him to somebody that plays for the Chiefs for just a moment. Work with me here, people. You see a young quarterback that comes into an organization,
right,
and he's fresh. I mean, it's like, okay, we remember the guy from last year, and you've got a bunch of returning seniors that are on the offensive line, and you know, they knew what their assignments were, and they listened to their quarterback. Now we got a new quarterback out there who has taken these guys along with him as they're all learning together. There's a synergy that happens. How do you see that develop when you're out there during practices?
you know, I think they let me rephrase that. They you know, I think the one thing that they do a good job of in understanding, you know, and I'm going to take this back a minute to the summer.
Yes.
They've all been through it. You know, they've been through the hard practices, the hard camps, the hard workouts, and they've kind of have a like investment, and that bond that you kind of build through that like investment through, you know, the on purpose adverse conditions sometimes through some of the workouts. They've kind of been there, gone through that together, and that kind of, gels them together somewhat, and that goes for the whole team, if you will. But, Ian, they buy into Ian. They like what he does. He's a leader in there with them, but he doesn't try to be too, overbearing, if you will. I mean, there's got to be a kind of a mesh of everything, and he does a good job of finding that balance of what he needs to do, and when he talks and how he builds the team up, and they do a good job, and he's got some great leaders around him with Jacob and for him to learn from, and a lot of the senior linemen, and you got Lawful. I mean, there's some guys around him that help develop him as well as a leader, and they trust him and they buy into him, and that's important, especially offensively.
What you just said, leadership is based on trust, and so these people that are around him that buy in, trust him to do the right thing. And I think, again, that's a thing that's earned. Trust is earned, and it's not shouting and being the loudest guy in the locker room and that nonsense. So I think you nailed it right there, and it's really great to see it. We're visiting with Coach Gray. We've got him in studio, and it's one of the most exciting days of my week. So please stay with us. We're going to talk to him a little bit more about our Stables Player of the Week after we come back from break. Stay with us. We'll be right here. Come on back.
Say thank you to these local underwriters who support KPGZ.
The Kearney Chamber of Commerce wants to thank you for supporting our local businesses. Kearney's friendly and authentic small-town atmosphere is created by our people and our distinctive shops, restaurants, and services. Local businesses contribute to our quality of life and to the character of Kearney. Shop local, eat local, enjoy local. It takes you to start the trend. Support the local businesses who support the area where you live, work, and play. This message sponsored by the Kearney Chamber of Commerce.
Mail-in rebates are a pain. Fill out the paperwork, and hopefully you'll get your money in 6 weeks. Kent Porter here for Porter's Building Centers with a solution to mail-in rebates. Ace Rewards from Ace Hardware. When you become a member of Ace Rewards, you'll get all the rebates instantly at the register. Plus, you'll earn points with every purchase, good for even more money-saving coupons. If you sign up today, we'll give you 1,000 free points just for joining. One more way Porter's and Ace save you money. Porter's Building Centers in Kearney. Porter's, we're here to help.
Singleton & Son is a company that's ready to help you maintain and improve your residential or commercial property. We're family owned and operated, which means we do all of our own work and we build our reputation with every job we do. Your satisfaction matters to us. Dirt and gravel, snow and ice, lawn care and landscaping. Singleton & Son is dedicated to providing Kearney and the surrounding area with quality services. For more information or an estimate, you can visit our website at singletonandson.com or call Jerry Singleton at 816-365-8220.
I'm Sean Barber, owner of Stables Local Kitchen and Patio in Kearney. Stables is a Kearney thing. We are all about our Kearney community. We love to be the place where people get together. Stables features a full menu with a scratch kitchen, offering lunch and dinner options, as well as a weekend breakfast starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday and Sundays. We are big believers in keeping it local. Stables has been a proud member of the Kearney community for almost 20 years, and we are very appreciative of the ongoing support from this wonderful community. You can check us out online at stables816.com, and Stables is part of the True 816 family. Eat, drink, local.
And welcome back to the Coach Gray Show. We were talking a little bit about the offense and the game against the Falcons last week, the Staley Falcons, and their win 52-19 over the Kearney Bulldogs. We did mention that Jacob Stevens had the 34-yard touchdown, the throw from Ian Acosta. But Jacob Stevens was also our Stables Player of the Week with, get this, 290 all-purpose yards. I mean, how many schools would love to have 200?
Pretty good day.
I'm just saying, 290. And two of those came from kickoff returns.
Yeah, that was pretty phenomenal. And the thing with that is, Coach Daniels, our Special Forces coordinator, does a great job of dissecting and doing some things. We saw a few things that we kind of liked. Hats off to our guys that set that up for him,
right?
Doing their job of blocking and making sure we're picking up their blocks, and obviously Jacob finding the hole and pulling away with his speed and his athleticism of seeing things and having great vision down the field of setting some things up for us. And when you can get one run back, that's a pretty special day. Yes. Let alone two
in one half.
Yeah,
we were a little surprised.
Right now, and it sets a tempo for the rest of the game. We talked about this off the air, and we talked about it during the game. Special teams matter.
Yeah.
They really count.
It's a momentum swing for you. Brings it, we talk about all the time, bringing it to the sideline and that emotion that it gives and that spark and gets that mojo kind of rolling on your side.
Now we saw the discipline of the practice that was paying out, because we can see from our point of vantage that there is a wall of blockers that was very clearly lined up and did a real nice job on that first return. And Jacob sprinted down the sideline for the touchdown. Now, what we also saw, and this was our Chamber of Commerce Play of the Week as well. So Jacob he doubled up on us this week.
He gets two trucks this time.
Right, exactly. But the second time, and we saw this happen. The Staley Bulldogs expected Jacob to run down that sideline. Well, the wall of blockers was set up in such a manner that he said, "Now I'm going to take it down that seam." Yeah. And he took it straight down the seam, and there was one guy left to catch him, and it was the kicker. And who knocked the kicker down? I mean, flattened this poor kid. It was Garrett Laughlin. And I didn't realize it happened so quickly. I asked him at the end of the game that Jacob said, no, that was Laughlin. It just knocked the guy down.
He still has a little linebacker blood still in him.
Oh, mercy. But, Brian, let's go ahead and play that. Do we have the Stables? Do you want to do the Stables player? Actually, we don't have sound on that one. We have sound for the play of the game, and that's our Kearney Chamber of Commerce play of the game. Got that queued up? Awesome. Let's have a listen.
19-13, Staley Falcons over your Kearney Bulldogs. 27 seconds left to go in this first half. Falcons getting ready to kick off. Jacob Stevens once again stands deep. He stands at the 9-yard line. He's joined back there by Garrett Laughlin. Garrett Laughlin standing also at the 9, but on the near hash. Braden Walker with the kick. It's an end-over-end kick brought in by Stevens at about the 9-yard line. He'll run up the far hash, finds an open seam, and he's free. He is broken free to the 50, the 40. It's a good race to the end zone. 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Touchdown, Jacob Stevens on an 89-yard kickoff return. That is his second of the night.
Jim, we talked about it before. I saw the wall of blockers lining up, but what I also saw was the Staley Falcons expecting him to cut up that seam along the sideline. He stayed inside on the inside seam and took that ball straight up for the touchdown.
No doubt about that.
Full disclosure here. Did you notice that I said he took the ball in at the 9 and then said he had an 89-yard return? So my math was just a little off.
Well,
right out of the gate.
Let me tell you do a terrific job, Jim.
And I forget. I think officially it was a 92.
So
is that right?
Pretty good guess when you're seeing a play unfold that quickly and being able to talk about it in such a manner that folks who aren't seeing it can at least visualize.
We need a better statistician, that
guy. Well, that again, I think you can't say enough about it, and that brought the score up to it was 13-6 after that, right? And or was it? Yeah, it was 13-6. And my goodness, right? I'm trying to remember. Yeah. And I mean, that's when all of it, it just, we were still thinking that, man, this is so exciting. We could hardly contain ourselves because we were thinking that momentum.
And I think we responded well with that one. That
right.
Like we say all the time, that momentum it brings the special teams, whether it's whatever unit is out on the field, it either is going to bring you up or bring you down. And I think our guys do a pretty good job when it comes to special teams and executing and then building off that momentum.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and hats off to all those guys that are out there blocking. And sometimes you think the kickoff team is a thankless position. No, it's not at all. And you need every single one of those guys to do their job. If they don't do their job, the play doesn't work. And it's a play.
Yep.
It's a real football play.
Most important one.
I know.
So one of the questions I have, we had talked a little bit, Mike brought it up earlier when he was talking about Acosta, and last year he was watching, and he was talking about the Chiefs guy.
What's his name?
Quarterback, some guy. I forget what
his name. Yeah.
One of the things that Chiefs guy talked about was his ability to stand back, and he watched, last or year before last, he just watched and learned. He watched and learned, and he talks about how important that was. Do you stress to your guys the same thing? And it's even more important to them because it's next man up and all that,
right.
And it's a given. And I know at the younger age, it's easier to. Because I did it. Right. You stand around, and we used to, of course, we had real grass on the field at the time, but we'd compare, how it was mowed the time before. And you lose focus because you're not paying attention. I'm not playing.
You're not paying attention now.
But. Yeah, I don't. That's very true. But how hard is it to teach the guys next man up? And you got to pay attention and learn from what they're doing and learn, when they make a mistake, learn from it. When they do something good, learn from it and use it.
That's, that's a good point because, we talk about next man up all the time because you never know. You never know when you're going to get caught. You never know when you may get put in the game. So I think we do a good job at talking about the importance of, our scout team guys. We talk about the importance of the value they have in the team. Whether, as we kind of look at the offense practicing and the defense practicing at the same time, there's, a scout team offense and a scout team defense. Well, there's only so many plays that that are ran in the game of football when it comes down to it. So they're getting reps of running plays, offensively, still using their technique, still working to get better. They get noticed because we watch, I watch every offense, defense, special teams clip when we go through practice. So I notice the guys that are on scout team, who's in the, how are they performing? And we try to bring value to that so that they're still getting work. They're still honing their skill. If it's a defensive guy, as a linebacker, you're still getting your reads, you're still getting your fits. If you're D lineman, it's the same thing. So we really kind of stress that, you may not be practicing our stuff right now, but it translates over so well, to what we do. Just working your skills and working what it is that you're doing. So that you are ready and that you are getting prepared. So it's getting everybody involved in practice. And not just standing off to the sideline,
right.
Counting the grass blades and wondering, what time is it and things like that they're involved in every aspect that we do, whether that's, special teams, scout guys, or whatever that piece is. So that is when it's their turn, or maybe they are standing behind, taking a break before they get back in and rotate. They're watching their position and seeing what it is that they do and listening to the coaching that's there. That's kind of the expectation. Does that happen all the time? No. I mean, they're 15, 16-year-olds. They're, not going to all the time to be that glued in for your practice, but you hope that they are, and you hope that they're continually learning regardless of who's getting coached up.
Well, and that, in all fairness, that even happens in the NFL, guys not paying attention. That's when you get there's 13 guys out on the field or 11 or 10, or they didn't transition because they weren't paying attention. They didn't know what was going on. And
that focus is tough. So, that, even on a Friday night with guys standing on the sideline, you want them glued in and dialed in and cheering and doing their part.
If you're on the sideline, the only people who should not be paying attention to the game are probably the people in the concession stand because they can't see it. And even then,
we want to make sure they get our order right.
I was going to say, but even then, they need to know when halftime is because that's when the rush is coming.
And you got to, and that's the thing I think with football is sometimes gets lost, and it's tough for some kids to understand that piece that. Everybody is important. Everybody, whether you think you are or not, everybody's important.
Yes.
And we really try to stress that because without them, they've got to give a look. Whatever level they're at, everybody's got to give a look.
Yes.
And it could be a number one guy going ones-on-ones, and they still got to give that look. And without that, we're not getting prepared for what we need to do the next Friday.
Right.
And aren't get that quality look that we need to be able to execute what it is that we're wanting to do for a play or whatever that may be.
Right. I want to talk about defense because I saw a pretty darn good defense on the part of the Kearney Bulldogs the other night. There were just amazing. I have so many guys I want to mention, and we don't always have time to mention every single one of them. And there's one guy in particular, though, that I want to just mention up front, and that's your senior linebacker, Corbin Bevan, who had 10 solo tackles and 6 assists for a total of 16 tackles the other night. Now, that's a guy who is playing the game. That's a guy who had his head in the game, and you talk about leadership. This is a young man who's showing how to play the game of football and got right in there. And I don't know how many times I saw number 33 back there just blowing stuff up. Blowing it up. He's a
student of the game. He's one of our captains, and he's returning Mike linebacker for us.
Right.
And he wants to learn more. He wants to he wants film. He wants to watch. He wants to see, dissect. And Coach Brinkley meets with those guys and does a lot of things with them, making sure teaching and learning and seeing things and going through stuff. And it's just Corbin is a student of the game, and and it shows. And he wants to do well, and he wants to learn. And he's a big physical rascal. I mean, he's flying around, and that's kind of that's learned, but it's also kind of who he is. You kind of
be careful what you say to him.
He's he does a good job of understanding the position and is kind of the quarterback
on the defense,
sure. and getting checks and making sure everybody's lined up. With our box, with our six, with our linebackers and linemen, and is just really excelled. Kind of what you expect out of him, and he has high expectations for himself and for the team, and does a good job of leading that way.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a guy who is really making the calls on the quarterback calls, so to speak, on defense, and also playing completely out of his mind on a night like playing against one of the better teams in the city. And to end up with those kind of numbers at the end of the night, and just a complete, he put on a clinic for a Mike linebacker.
We were a lot more relaxed. I felt, starting that game out, and a lot of the jitters were kind of gone. And, I think, not to dwell on it, and I could, pull a Belichick on you and just say we're on to Platte County.
Thanks for not doing that. This is far better radio.
I answered the question. We're on to Platte County.
Yes.
But with that being said, it was like a 9-round heavyweight fight, and we came up a little short, I think, at the end, and we like I said, we've learned from it. Our Monday focus was we had a good week of practice. And our guys are pretty dialed in and kind of got them jitters out.
Yeah, and they've got nothing to be ashamed about, I don't think, after that game. I mean, they played good, and if they did, they ought to watch the Pittsburgh-New England game, because that went well, didn't it?
Speaking of New England.
I love that. Well,
the one thing that was, I think, one of the most impressive things, and I don't know impressive, but the things that was good to see was, it wasn't like, we lost. It was Staley. There was no excuse. There was zero excuse. We should have beat them. It was, we were there. We fought. It wasn't, man. We had our opportunities. It wasn't like, we lost. It was, they weren't up on that pedestal like, well, that was inevitable. No, that's not our mindset. That's not what we preach. That's not what we're about. And I think the guys definitely understood that and are geared up and ready to go for this week.
I want to talk about a couple of other guys. John Walters, he's a senior, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for some reason I was thinking he was still a junior. You hate seeing these guys go away.
I
know. Wouldn't it be great?
Don't tell his teachers that.
Exactly.
They might make some things happen.
Exactly. 8 solo tackles and 5 assists, and another guy, Tucker Studi, who had 7 solo tackles and 4 assists. Both of those guys we see them flying around. In fact, you start to kind of see the same jersey numbers that are, making things happen. Not to say that the whole team isn't just working their hind ends off, but
that other guy was out there too. That Buster guy.
Yes, and he is on. Let's see, I had him somewhere else on this page. Maybe not. I was looking on the. I don't know. I didn't have him on my list here. But yes, Buster Breedlove, right?
No, Buster Lawrence.
Buster Lawrence. Sorry.
Yeah.
Focus.
And there he is. Yeah, okay. I got his numbers right here, and he was 3 solo and 1 assist for 4 total tackles. Yeah, and
he had a couple pass breakups, as well, David.
Yes,
those guys in the secondary. I think our secondary is really starting to gel, and with those safeties, coming down and making tackles. Which sometimes you don't want your safeties making a lot of tackles because that means if they're into the secondary, that's not that good. However, they come downhill pretty good when they identify and run and are obviously not afraid to stick their nose in there and do it, get where they need to be.
Right. We're coming up on a break, but I did what I noticed about it's almost like you've got linebackers who are like linebacker safety hybrids. And I keep seeing these guys, all the guys we just mentioned, Buster Lawrence and John Walters, let's see, number 27, Colby McBride. I keep seeing these guys they don't all play at the same time. I see them coming in and out, so you can give these guys a little bit of a break and then get them back in with fresh legs, and and it's just something's going on back there. And you don't have to go into any detail here, Coach, but I see a really cool defense that's really, really quick.
They're starting to establish themselves, and I think that's kind of finding your identity is you find out who you are and how you play. And again, same thing as offense. Defensively, you got to gel together. You got to know where guys are fitting, where how to play. And, I think we've definitely progressed through that, these first 2 games and kind of understand who we are and setting that kind of hard-hitting, flying around mentality, the purple swarm that we talk about. And they take pride in that.
Swarm.
Yeah. Well, let's come back. We want to finish up talking about the defense. And then let's talk about the game tomorrow night. And what is that game called again? Highway 92.
The Highway 92
showdown.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Showdown.
Yep.
We're listening. You're listening. We're talking on the Coach Gray Show. We've got the ball coach in studio with us. Stay with us for these short messages. We'll be right back.
Always remember to thank the underwriters for their support of KPGZ.
Since opening our doors, TDR Auto Plaza has made major changes with a full-service department open to the public, and we have brought in more late model and low-mileage trucks and cars for our customers. We know there's a lot of places you can buy a vehicle, but we're your hometown dealership, and we're there for you when you need us most. We've been helping our neighbors drive dependable vehicles and save money year after year. TDR Auto Plaza, 801 North Country Avenue in Kearney. The phone number is 816-903-3300. TDR, your hometown dealer, changing the way used cars are sold.
So we really want Porter's Kearney Body Shop to be your true neighborhood body shop.
Yeah, but most people have heard that before. What's different about Porter's?
Your vehicle is a big investment. We know that. When something needs fixing, you want to know it's going to be done right and that you're getting the right deal too.
So how do I know Porter's is more than just words?
You'll get neighborhood service because we are your neighbors. Whatever the make or model, our job is to keep you on the road, not in the shop.
Porter's Kearney Body Shop, 104 West Main Street in Kearney, 816-628-5621. Porter's, where customers have been driving away happy since 1982.
State Farm, Kathy here.
Hey, it's Mike. My team just pulled off the biggest upset ever.
Nice, Mike.
And some fans are getting crazy. They even flipped over a car.
Whoa.
Turns out it's my car, though.
Oh.
But I don't want to be upset right now. I want to know State Farm's going to take care of this, right?
We got you covered, Mike.
Yes! Woo!
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Tracy Tucker, State Farm at 751 Watson Drive, Suite D in Kearney, Missouri. 816-903-5550.
Football players know linemen are vital to the team. We know that too. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative's mission is to empower communities and energize life with safe and reliable energy. And a vital part of our team working to make this happen includes our dedicated linemen. From building new lines and services to restoring your power, even in the worst storm conditions, our trained linemen are vital to the success of your cooperative. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative. For more information about our services, you can visit us online at www.pcec.coop.
I like that music. That sounds good. It gets me all excited. We're all kind of tapping our feet in here, slapping our legs here. That's kind of fun little sound
gets
right there.
Gets them all amped up.
That's right.
I know
it does get you amped up.
You are listening to the Coach Gray Show. You're back with us here. We got the coach right here in studio with us, and we were finishing up talking about the defense the other night, Coach. One of the guys that we mentioned, number 27, Colby McBride, again, just continues to be all over the field defensively. Talk about him.
He has done a tremendous job of another one. You know, they want to do so well.
Yeah.
You know, they get an opportunity, and you know, now is their time to shine as a senior, and working hard in practice and going through what we kind of put them through during practice to make the game hopefully seem easy. You know, and he's one that just, you know, he battles. He wants to learn. He wants to be good, just like they all do. And Colby's come a long way. Colby is. You know, I think I mentioned, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago about him. He was he played free safety. Kind of felt like maybe that wasn't a good fit. Brought him down to that linebacker spot. He put some weight on, busted his tail in the weight room, and got stronger, and has done a nice job. And you know, him and Alex Evans, another one, did the same thing. And those guys battle back and forth, and at that position, and they both have done, you know. And it may not, you know, you don't always get the, you know, sometimes you don't always get it's not the glory of it, but it, you know, I guess I want to give them a shout out because, you know, those are two kids that work hard, and they, you know, they do what they, you know, it's kind of hard to put in words. They just, they work, they try to do so well, only for themselves, but for the team. And they want to do what's best for the team, and they buy into that. And, you know, that translates to those younger kids of, you know, what hard work does and pays off for you in the long run. And it may not be immediate, you know, for a sophomore that's, you know, going through practice, maybe as a scout team kid that's, you know, going as hard as he can and getting better. And, you know, you don't always get that acknowledgement, you know, as a younger kid.
Yeah. I think that's key. And
so Colby has paid his, I say he's paid his time and dues because he's worked his tail off, and
good for him.
And just like a lot of those kids that are at that point now as a starter, or as a guy that's a contributor, that's on, you know, a first team special teams unit, or you know, a guy that's rotating, whatever that looks like. You know, they've earned that. They've worked hard. They've gotten better, and you know, we got to put the best product on the field, and and they understand that, and you know, that's a testament to this group of guys that are playing that's teaching that to those younger kids, and that's important. And they buy into that, and they understand that, and you know, it's hard at times, you know, to go through a practice and you're going against the number ones or the twos or whatever that looks like. And, I mean, that takes a toll, but they do it because they love it, and they want to do well, and they want to do well as a program. They buy into the team. They buy into what we're preaching and what we're about, and you know, ultimately growing great young men, and they can look back into their time on the football field and the practices and all the conditioning and the dovecot runs that we do, and all those things, and look back, man, that made me, you know, I learned more about that and how to be a man and going through adversity and how to deal through some things that aren't very fun at times. And you're not just learning football, and you know, our kids just do a good job of buying into that and understand there's more to it than just the X's and O's, and being out there on a Friday night, and that what they do in practice helps us be successful. And that's their piece of the puzzle. So, I didn't mean to go on around.
Not at all. But what you said is so important because
it's not always cake and ice cream,
Right.
and you're not always the guy that's there, but you're
a part of it.
You're just as important,
Right.
and it makes a huge difference that those guys understand, and it's not an easy task, especially for somebody. Everybody wants to be on their Friday
Right.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be playing on Monday night. All the time if it's a JV game or a freshman game.
Mm-hmm.
But we would love, and Mike and I talk about this a lot. We would love to be able to call out every single number on the team because all the
they
plays,
all deserve it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even though somebody may run for 80 yards or an interception or whatever, to set all that up took every player out there.
Right.
Yes.
Everybody had to be doing their job. And the one thing I will say that your players do it every time. And if you didn't see it, you can watch it on our Facebook page. When we interviewed Jacob Stevens at the end of the game the other night,
good example.
he specifically said, and generally when we interview these guys after a game, every single one of them always gives credit to everybody else on the team. So it's not about I ran for 150 yards or whatever the case may be. That would be total yards, not in one play. But they're very good about giving credit to everybody on the team for everybody being out there. And I think that is huge as it relates to realizing that every single player has a job and they've got to do it or the play to work.
Well, it speaks to their character, which I think is another thing that you're talking about, how to be a man, how to grow up and do, take what you're learning here on the football field and carry it through life. And we see this. We've seen it, I guess, since last year when we started doing the coaches show and we got, a little closer to the players and we're able to interview them either after the game or we had them in here in the studio a couple of times, I think, or one or two times. And to be able to, to talk to a player immediately after the game when they're still jacked up, after doing, something likely, probably pretty good. And then to hear them say, yeah, well, I'm, hats off to the offense, hats off to the special teams blocking, hats off to everybody on that fake punt, which was just a little heartbreaking on the hold. But, everybody did what they were supposed to do. But for, every once in a while you get called for a holding penalty and it happens. But what we hear and what we see is just the relationships that we were able to build with some of these players on a very limited basis that they absolutely, what you're saying is, and I think this is key, they buy in. Yep.
That's, they see what, hopefully they see what it's going to help them later on in life, because ultimately a lot of them, what is it? My son, my youngest son, Bo, told me the other day, he said he wanted to be in the NFL. I said, that's great. He said, but only like 2% make the NFL. And I'm like, yeah, but those 2%, you could be the 2%. So the reason why I bring that piece up.
Yes.
So the reason why I bring that up is you never know what you're going to do, but the majority of the time they're not going to go on to play football. They're going to go on and be great at something else. But the things that I think that we feel is that you learn from football are going to be insurmountable later on in life, that you can reflect back upon something. Maybe it was a corny quote that I gave them on our practice schedule, or something that they stuck with them that guides them hopefully as they go on, and our coaches do a good job of promoting those guys.
No doubt about it. These lessons translate.
That's right.
And they absolutely do. One more guy on defense, and then we got to talk about the Highway 92 showdown this Friday at Platte County. But the one guy that we mention him over and over because he's in all these plays. Number 27. Sorry, we just talked about him. Sorry, Colt Post. Number 57. And rock solid up the middle. I mean, disrupting plays, making tackles, putting pressure on the quarterback and sucking up blockers. I mean, how many times we see him double teamed?
He gets double teamed every single.
Yes.
I mean, you better. If not, he's going to wreak more havoc. But even when he's getting double teamed, does a great job, and he's got a motor on him, and he's just got a nose for the position of nose, if you will.
Yes.
Do you guys practice? I mean, do you practice that way, knowing he's going to get double teamed? Do you double team him up in practice just so he gets used to it?
Yep.
I would think so, because those other guys are watching film, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Coach Hummel does a good job with the D linemen and setting up, drills and things like that. Simulating game-like experiences is, ultimately when we try to set up our drills, everything we do is going to be something that you're going to see in the game or what's going to happen. So, he practices that all the time, just like all of our other linemen. And they, it's.
Well, if you're getting double teamed, that means
somebody's free.
Right.
That means there's an opening. That's a compliment.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
And sometimes he gets triple teamed.
If they don't put anybody on you, you probably ought to rethink your priorities.
And I would imagine that gives those linebackers
kind of remap this out.
Yeah. And that's when in fact, when you see, we talked about Corbin Bevan, you see him in the backfield. I have a pretty good idea why he's back there, because he sees the opening.
That's right.
He sees that seam, and he says, "I'm in there. I'm in there."
And Colt, and I don't remember his stats because I don't, I really don't look at a whole lot of stats on
I know
that
you
stuff.
You don't read the newspapers and all that. And watch ESPN.
I try to stay pretty clean, but
he had 11 tackles.
Yeah,
Coach. Yeah.
At the nose, 11 tackles at the nose position
total, yes. It's unheard of.
That's a pretty good pretty good day.
Yes.
Pretty good day, and he as far as our point totals at Leap Beat, he had a great point total. And graded out really well. And
those were combined, by the way. That was solo and 7 solo tackles.
Yeah.
Even that's a great day at the office. I mean, come on.
Yep.
So if we can ask, because I know we had the Stables Player of the Week, but who was your guys' off? Can we ask who was your offensive player and who was your defensive player of the week?
Sure, you can ask.
So,
are you asking me?
Hypothetically, and
well, you actually can go on
our
our webpage. My wife runs a webpage. It's all on our website, but so it's not like it's
big secret.
A big secret off that. But our lineman was Colt Post. Our trench player was Colt Post, Ian Acosta, and then Corbin Bevan.
There you go.
And Jacob Stevens.
We talked about all of them.
Our special teams players.
We're only allowed to pick one.
You're only allowed to pick one.
Due to contractual obligations.
Well, Brian has just indicated that we've just got a few minutes left. We want to talk about the Highway 92 showdown this Friday at Platte County. What does this rivalry mean to the kids?
Well, anytime you're playing somebody in close proximity, where you have, interactions with around the communities or out or wherever, it always means a lot, I think, and our guys, it's always a big game. It's always, seems like a close game.
Right.
And this is going to be one that, for our kids it always means a little extra, and it's conference game. It's, there's a lot on this game, as far as that goes, and we're on the road and I think our guys are definitely looking forward to it, to get back on the field and make sure that we're ready to roll.
Right. Let's see. Platte County's 1-1. They came off a loss last week as well, and the Bulldogs are 1-1. So it's as you say, it's conference. So this is good in a way that they're both 1-1 because they're always in it.
Yeah,
they're in the thick of it
and
every year.
They've got a good quarterback. They've got obviously good skill players around them and a good. It's a good football team that's always well coached and always, they stretch you vertically with the passing game, and then all of a sudden, they'll run the run game, and they've got a great running back, and they distribute the ball well on the perimeter as well with a lot of the receivers. So we're going to have our hands full, and but I think our guys practiced well this week. And, I know that we've got a sense of urgency, which is always important about when it's game time, and our practice today, be a good sparkle practice for us to where, we touch on a few things and get them in and get them out. And, I think we practiced well enough this week that, I think on Monday we were ready to get back at it.
Right.
And which was a good sign.
Yes, a loss will often be a motivator, and that's exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
Especially on a game like that where, and we've talked about it a lot of times, the score isn't indicative. There are just a few key things in that game the other night. You change that around, and the outcome changes different. So
we're on the Platte County.
I get it.
Bill Belichick.
Just one more
says,
time, I had to. I'm not comparing myself by one lick, but. He always cracks me up.
I would.
It's hilarious. And someday he's probably going to write a book, and it's going to be just, everything that we hoped he had said up on the podium.
No, he's going to write a book. It's going to be like 3 pages. Worry about next week or whatever the case may be.
I don't know, maybe so. I'm telling you, Coach, just a terrific job last week, and we're going to be done with it. But we saw a really well-coached team on the part of the Kearney Bulldogs. We mentioned a bunch of names. Great job to all the kids. I wish we could name every single one of you here, but we wish you the best of luck on the Highway 92 showdown. I wanted to mention real quick, Brian, I have just a moment, the rivals on the field. I found this online this morning when I was doing show prep. But Platte County High School and Kearney High School are teaming up again on the Highway 92 Showdown tomorrow night, September 13th, to support a charitable cause. And basically, as I understand it, the T-shirt sales for the Highway 92 Showdown all go to benefit different organizations who help the community. They said they'd be collecting perishable and non-perishable items for Treasure Chest and the Kearney Food Pantry, and there's donations for the Treasure Chest, and I think a number of other beneficiaries will come out on top just from these T-shirt sales, which is really, really a neat idea.
It is, and then they do a good job of promoting that. And we have that on our Twitter account. I know I've put that out there on how to order a shirt and do some of those things and help kind of promote that. Yeah, let me just name them off real quick. They want to partner with Hillcrest, Platte County, Treasure Chest, Kearney Enrichment Council, the Kearney Food Pantry, and provide support for both local communities to assist homelessness, food shortages, and general resource assistance, which I just think is amazing. Yeah. Good luck, Coach. Thank you much. I appreciate you. We love having you in here, and thanks so much for being with us today, folks. You have been listening to the Coach's Show, and Brian looks like he's queued up to play some music or something. Play the bumper music. It gets me so excited. Yeah, there it is. That's what I like to hear. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll be back next Thursday at noon with Coach Gray on his namesake, the Coach Gray Show. Very appropriately named. And stay with us for some more news after this. We'll see you next week.